Welcome to Afros and Audio's Black History Month interview series. My name is Talib Jasir, founder and CEO of Afros and Audio Podcast Festival, the first two-day conference for and by Black independent podcast creatives and audio professionals. I'm excited to spotlight 28 outstanding indie podcast creatives who answered the call to be a part of this series. Today, my guest is Santiago Maxwell. Welcome and thank you for being here. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for the invite.
Absolutely, man. So tell us a little bit about yourself. We'll get to the podcast, but tell us a bit about you.
A little bit about me outside of podcasting. I'm a father, serial entrepreneur, just enjoy life every day to its fullest and love fast cars.
All right, that's what's up. Me too, actually. We'll talk about that offline.
Okay, great.
All right, man. You say you're a serial entrepreneur. So is podcasting a part of that entrepreneurship for you?
It has become that part of that. Yes.
All right. And why did you choose podcasting as a medium for your expression and your creative outlet?
I fell onto podcasting by accident, actually. Didn't know that's what it was called. A mutual friend between myself and my co-owner of a podcast I'm in now. He wanted to start a podcast. He wanted, guys to get around and just talk about what was going on and focus on what was some topics. And I said, okay, cool. I have an audio engineering degree from Full Sail University. I work in the tech industry. I like everything that's dealing with tech. And long story short, I started podcasting and he got me locked in. I loved it. Unfortunately, even though when everyone left the group that I started with initially, myself and my co-partner, we kept it going, and that's how I fell into podcasting.
All right. Tell me a little bit about your podcast. Why'd you start it? When did you started it? And how it's going?
All Gas, No Breaks. Like I said, I fell upon it by accident. A friend of ours wanted to start something. We all called it All Gas, No Breaks podcast. But All Gas, No Breaks. And breaks is BREAKS, take the no breaks off. And we just wanted to give our opinion, our side of what's going on, our take on topics, and not ran by numbers and media pushes and things of that nature, just what we felt. And without any type of biases or any type of crazy prejudices, anything nuts, nothing controlled by anyone. And with doing so, I truthfully enjoyed it. I enjoyed the whole aspect of, because beyond podcasting, our show is live. We have cameras, lighting, beyond sound. So I got to use my education as well from Full Sail. And it helped me just express that art and put that education to use beyond just in my corporate life.
Okay. No, I love that too, Santiago, because one of the things that is important for myself and Afros and Audio is to push that idea of transferable skills, right? We can be working in different industries or have different skills or degrees. A lot of those skills can be used for podcasting. So while we're looking for areas where we can excel and have this one mindset, like it can only work in television or I can only do it as a writer for books, there's a lot of skill sets that can be pulled in and pulled from in podcasting. And so it's really great that you were able to tap into that and make it work for you.
Thank you. It allowed me to do so. And beyond that, I also have a degree in business. It just made sense.
Absolutely.
It made sense.
Absolutely. Okay, that's cool. When you filled out the submission form, there was a question that I asked about podcasting changed my life in the following ways. What was that for you? And can you expand on that for the viewers and the listeners?
For me, it allowed me to network more. That's how it changed my life. I enjoy networking already. In my corporate life, I'm the guy at the meetings, at the association events. That's how I get my sales. That's how I generate sales. That's all I know. It's about networking. And our show is about speaking to entrepreneurs, businesses, and content creators in my local market, DC, Maryland, and Virginia area, metro area, to be exact. One thing my wife and I will always talk about is we networking for ourselves besides just the business, because she's also in sales as well. And I said, you need to network more just for what I'm doing. And podcasting allowed me to do that because my show is focused on speaking to entrepreneurs and other businesses within my local market and identifying what gets them going, what pushes them forward. And with doing so now, that's a client, that's a potential customer, that is a partner in something. So that's what it's done for me.
Okay. And would you say that was a strategy going in or something that you learned pretty quickly?
It was not a strategy going in at all because the show was completely different when we all first began it. And eventually when things started falling apart, we had to change. We had to pivot to something else. And I love entrepreneurship. I love business. And I stated to my partners, hey, why don't we start interviewing these type of people? And we thought we were going to do that eventually in the future. But because of things falling apart, we jumped right in. And ever since we've been doing it, it's been, phenomenal.
That's great too, that you mentioned like things fell apart and we're not privy to what that is. But either way, it seems like there was a commitment to pivot and not give up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's important. It's especially important when it comes to podcasting because in a lot of ways, podcasting can be a long game.
Long game. Yeah. It is a long game.
And you even discover yourself and other ways to make it work, not only for the people that are listening, but for yourself that makes it something that you stick with and creates sustainability out of it. And that's so necessary.
It is.
Yeah. So that's dope, man. I appreciate that. So what would you consider from the time that you started and when did you start the podcast? What year would you say?
Oh man, I want to say it's 5 years now.
Yeah.
It was like end of 2017. So a little bit more than 5. We've been doing it for a while.
Okay. That's awesome. So what are some of the things that you would say stand out that you learned about yourself inside of this process?
Oh, that I learned about myself. Before all of this, and I'll keep it real with you. Like I said, I'm a serial entrepreneur, so I'm always putting together teams, businesses, ideas. And I was having a lot of issues as a young man, putting together teams, maintaining those teams and growing those teams and growing the product, growing the brand. But by myself, I can easily do it. It's always easy to work alone. And I've really been focusing on team effort, building a team. So one thing I learned was I was able to maintain at least a portion of my team. I still have some of the original members with me, and I put on new members, and we've been expanding and still getting the team to work together. And as the team has been working together, our numbers, our successes has been coming towards us tenfold. That's been something that I've finally obtained. I've learned how to maintain that team, put my differences behind myself or how I feel, and literally just be that role player or manager, if per se, whatever hat I have to wear, I got to wear. But as long as the team is moving forward, that is what I'm all about. It's called servant leadership. And that's one thing that I've been putting forward. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's awesome. What have you learned about the podcast and the industry and just how you were able to make it in a way that feels good for you? I always think it's very important that we measure our own success and it's not external at all. And so what are some of the things that you've learned about the industry or podcasting in general throughout the journey?
I've learned how popular podcasting is. I've learned I'm always on what's new, what's next, what I need to be doing next, what platforms to be on, how do I get my message across. I really got to tap into my marketing skills and really taking advantage of some skills I had in social media and putting it towards our podcast and really generating a real community behind my podcast. Nothing false, no fake numbers. These are real people and really building that community where people that I can actually talk to and speak to me back without trying to sell me something that's irrelevant to me. People and let me know if they like something, if they don't like something. Because on my Instagram, we're pretty risky. And my community will let me know how risky it is. But if it's too far, they'll even let me know. And I love the fact that they feel comfortable enough to be like, and they'll call us out. And our page is ran by multiple people, but they'll try to call one of us out and they feel comfortable enough to do so. So, that's one thing I love about where we've been going.
Okay. And for a lot of podcasters, I just did another interview where they're looking to build their community, looking to create that engagement. What would you say has been your best way of making that happen for yourself? Because I'm sure, just like all of us, just starting out, you don't necessarily have the audience and the community that you're looking for. And not every podcast also needs a community. But it is great to have it when you decide that this is what we want, this is the engagement we want. What were some of the ways in which you found tangibly that said, this is how we get to create this community and then maintain the community?
Identify what social media platform works for you. There's a ton of them out there. You're not going to be the best at all of them. Master one of those. And when on those, follow what that one person or somebody that you want to look, I want to mimic that. See how they're doing via social media and what platforms they're doing well on or not, and mimic it to the best of your ability, but still with your own flavor. And then work it. Fail miserably. When I first began our Instagram, and I'm excited about Instagram because 3,000 or something followers, which is not much to some, but those are actually real people. And I know they are because I'm a social media manager in the past life as well. So I know that real people, I can speak to those people, and we're able to actually partner with them on shows. We monetize from our community, engage with the community. Don't worry about numbers. One thing I'm telling a lot of people, do not worry about those numbers. A lot of these numbers they're both, they're not real. They've been inflated drastically. Stop looking at what the next man has and worry about what you have and grow that. It's like, with farming. You got to start with the soil, water, and a lot of patience.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Podcasting does require that patience, but it's also an opportunity. It seems, having met you in person at the last conference, I get from you that engaging folks and interacting is important, is a value for you. And recognizing that it takes that authenticity, but it also takes that consistency to say, I'm here and I'm not going anywhere. That to me has been a lot of ways in which we lose the folks, is that a lot of communities overpromise and then underperformed in a lot of ways. And so it is important that you stay there, you remain,
Yeah.
start. Yeah. Okay.
That is 100%. I agree with you on that.
Mm-hmm.
Sacrifice.
Yeah.
As I know, you got to go all in.
Oh yeah. We remember our why, right? We remember why we got this in the first place. And speaking of that, what is your why?
My why is to highlight my area. I love this area. I'm actually a New Yorker. Moved here when I was very young, though, in the DMV area. And it has its good and its bad, like any place else. But the goods are dope. What's good is dope. I really enjoyed it. It really helped mold me as a young man. And it gave me a lot, actually. It gave me a lot of just education, understanding of life, being in a melting pot, being in the nation's capital. And it, in a way, saved me. I have peers that didn't take advantage of what was in front of them and what we have here. And it helped me out. So my goal is to most definitely highlight all the star power we have here, with it being an artist, a business, and those people look like you and I. I most definitely present us first, because I feel like we're not presented as much as we should be. But I incorporate everyone. But you're going to see some brown on it first, though.
Yeah. For sure. I'm actually from the DMV area myself.
Okay.
I left there let's just say I left there right after 9/11.
Okay.
I was working on I Street, where the White House is, on H. Yep. It took me way longer than it should have to get over to PG County. And the next year I was like, I don't want to be here anymore. Okay. Tank on the corner in front of the Bank of America for a year, an Army tank. So I was like, this ain't where I want to be no more.
Unfortunately, around that time, I get that. I get that. It was tough.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're from New York and then going to DC, you completely understand what that looks like and the dangers that it takes when you live in those high profile areas. But I love DC is home for me. So I really do love that. And so next time I'm there, we'll link.
We have to link up, come to the studio.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. My daughter went to Howard, and it was crazy to me that she was walking the same blocks that I walked before she even got here. Nice. Oh, that's very cool. Shout out to DMV.
Yay.
Yeah, word up. You talked a lot about your marketing skills and your entrepreneurial skills. What big piece of advice would you give to aspiring, and even there's veteran podcasters who are committed to a thing even when they should have gave it up a long time ago? What's been those things that you've learned and also brought with your professional experience that you think that would benefit podcasters?
First step, do not give up. Number one, you cannot quit. This is not a game for quitters. You're going to get 2 listens a month, and that's just the way it's going to be. And in 1 month, it'll be 1,000. And then you think you're going to get those same numbers. It's not going to be the case. It's good. Consistency is key in this game. Have a plan, have a strategy, know who your market is once you identify it. But at the same time, I try not to focus too much on that. And I'm trying to I'm a little bit, once you get to know me a little further, I'm a little bit different. I don't want to follow the same direction as everyone else at all times. I understand knowing the market and all that, but I like to blend the markets. I like to push the button a little further because I've seen it work for me. But at the same time, it's because I am aware of the market that I do have. So I do my homework. I'm all about my statistics, my data. If you want to be good at this game, it's all about understanding your data, the statistics. But at the same time, you have to have fun. You got to enjoy what you're doing. So I would say, if I break it down to 3 things, is can't give up, stick to it, understand the statistics, like really immerse yourself in all of this if you can, but you got to have fun at the same time. So that's easier said than done to do all those things, but you got to figure that out.
Yeah, fun is very important. And I think podcast allows for that. It's the opportunity to be and do you. And if you're not doing that, then what you're doing?
Yeah.
It's your platform, your mic, and you get to come at it however you want without any external expectations on yourself. One thing I wanted to talk about, you mentioned consistency, and I think it's important, especially as Black folks who are tired in a lot of ways, that we make that distinction, right? It's not about grinding it out and being overproductive, but it is really about building that trust with your audience, right? Being willing to be consistent enough to say, I'm here, I'm still here. Even when you need to take a break, being willing to say that, open up, say, I'm going to take a break for this amount of time, I'll be back. But just like you said, building that interaction and engagement with your audience so that they know that they can trust you. And, and when you've had enough and when you want to pivot, that's also the prerogative of the creative. That's, to me, is one really important element of owning your own self inside of this industry.
Yeah, I agree. I like to add one thing. That's where I utilize social media to take those breaks. Like right now, I've recently taken a break, but because we're everywhere, I always say we're everywhere on all social media platforms. I still give some type of something. I give some type of content. I even let you know while I'm taking a break what's going on. Or if I'm behind the scenes working on a podcast, you'll at least see a little bit of that, snippets of that, making them stay engaged, understand that we're doing something and we're still with you. And they'll wait as long as you're still putting that type of information out there.
Yeah. And that is, I'm glad you brought that up because there's so many ways to be consistent. And it doesn't just mean sitting behind the mic and putting out an episode. That behind the scenes and the intimacy is also so important for people that are open to it. One of the things I had to learn, because I am a person that wouldn't mind being behind the curtain the entire time and watching from the balcony in the last row. But I realized there's a responsibility inside of this work. And once we're a part of it, and once we say what we're going to do and want to stand by that, it's important that we also come out of the shadows and stand by our work. Let people win.
Yeah. You got to do it. This is the time we're in. It's the time that we're in.
Absolutely.
I'm the same way. I'm just like you, like be behind the camera and all that good stuff. But eventually, when I speak on when I first began this, when our star of our show left, it was like, okay, who's going to step it up? And I was like, I really enjoy doing this. And I don't want to be in the forefront, but hey, why not? Let's just make it happen. And ever since I've been doing that, it's been working.
Absolutely. You got off the sidelines. And that's so important because so much happens once we step into it. That could never happen if we continue to stay behind the curtain. That's awesome that you realize that and you're willing to step up. And that just says that also you believed in what you are working on and what you're creating, because it's also really easy to just say, okay, we tried and it's over now.
I get so tired of that. I'm one of those guys that I hate doing that. You've done it in the past and you got to stop. You got to quit at times.
Yeah.
But I just, I said, no, we got a team here. We got a squad. I feel like these guys can do it. And we've taken on a new partner. She's an amazing comedian in our local area. She's now on the show and she's now taking the hosting portion of the show. And I've stepped back slightly, which is great because of the way we brought her in. She watching the show. She's like, oh my God, it's a great show. I'm like, I'd love to have you on the show. So that networking piece once again, and just all wraps around networking as well.
Yeah, and it says a lot about your leadership, and that's great. There's a quote, and I love quotes, and it's by Howard Thurman, and he says, there's two questions you always need to ask yourself, and one is, what will I create? And then the other is, I'm paraphrasing, who will go with me? Right. If you ever get those questions out of order, then you're in trouble. And that just says that we can't wait to create because someone else is say, I got your back, I'm there with you, and then they drop out, and then you drop out, right?
Yeah.
It's about being willing to stick with what it is we envision, see it through, and allow people to come with you as you grow and move it forward. So you definitely embody that quote in life, just from hearing the different scenarios and how it's gone, ebb and flow with the podcast. It will be ebb and flow.
Appreciate that. That. It's been a ride. I've enjoyed the journey though. I'm enjoying the journey, and my wife, and I'm my biggest critic, and then my wife is second to me. You know what I mean? And to get her to go, that show is good. Thinking what you're doing. And I'm getting that from her. I'm like, okay, I know I'm doing it right here. I'm getting it.
Yeah, it's when you can get the people that hear you talking all the time to be like, okay, I like that.
Yeah.
That was different. Yeah, I love that. And a lot of times our partners are our first investors, our first supporters.
Yes.
And that's super important, man. So that's dope. And I'm happy that you have that and your partner. So as you came into 2023, did you have any specific podcast goals?
Yeah, I have tons. I've been working on monetization. That's always number one. monetize. But yeah, not completely like I'm freaked out about it, but it's something I'm just focused on because I have a team and I want to make sure that they eat. That's literally it. And as I said, I'm from corporate America, so I'm all about building businesses that, brings in revenue. So that's the goal right now. Make sure I can take care of my team, make sure that they're eating from this. Then branding, really working on our branding, our social media impact, working on that a little more, which has been working tremendously. And with the monetization point, I've actually now reaching out to create a website, because we actually, believe it or not, doing this all without a website, because I didn't know that this was going to take off the way it has been taking off. It's starting to go in a direction I didn't know it was going. So I'm jumping before it goes too far, and I'm like, I don't have things in place. I'm doing that now. I'm organizing a lot of things already incorporated the business already. And now creating a website, VIP access for its members, things of that nature, because people have asked for it. And beyond that, I should have wrote a little list here because I saw that was a question you had here. Sponsorships, we're getting more sponsors, which is fantastic. And attending more podcast conferences and networking more as I network with you. I really enjoyed that. I didn't know that this space existed with the conferences, and I was happy to make your conference the first one I've attended because it was an amazing experience. I didn't know there were us in this space and we had our own thing. And shout out to my boy Corey for that, because I met Corey and he was like, you got to come to this, and I did. And I truthfully enjoyed myself.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It is super important and it's very intentional. When I started it, it was because I was also seeking a community and support and resources and folks that I could relate to and talk to. And so this opportunity has not only expanded my life, but just provided such an opportunity for folks to get to know each other and build community with one another. And that's been one of the greatest gifts of this conference. Is the friendships that are being built and the networking that's being had because of it. I'm always blown away just learning stories about that. It's always been for me the day after the conference. We can get together, and we Black folks, we know how to have a good time. We know how to make something stretch.
Right, that's right, we do.
Yeah, but it's so for me, it was always about the day after. How can we continue to make that impact? Can we continue to stay in each other's lives and push this medium forward? This is important that we're in this space.
Yeah, it is. It most definitely is. All right. It's needed. It's needed.
Yeah.
Any space out there needs to be a melting pot. I like my stuff very bright and fun. I dig that there is a space for us. I really enjoyed meeting a lot of the bosses. There was a lot of CEOs I met that day and very powerful players. And that was great for me because until I met Corey and Corey introduced me to you all, I thought I was just like fighting this beast all alone.
Oh man, yeah, that's no fun.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah,
it made it fun.
Yeah. So I appreciate you offering that and then letting the folks know, man, it is super important that we are able to come together and share our experiences because it helps us to accelerate our own way forward. It can only help when we get to meet people who are where we want to be or on the same level and we're all moving it together. So I appreciate you being a part of it. You also part of Black Podcast Association?
I am.
Yeah, so talk a little bit about your experience with the community.
I enjoy the community. Corey's been telling me about it for some time now. And after going to Afros and audio, I said, Corey, you know what? I'm going to join. I'm all in. I want to be around this all the time. And if there's a place where I could be on that on my phone, I'm in it. I'm all in. So I told Corey, I'm 100% into everything you all are doing. Whatever we're doing, you need me, give me a ring. Because I'm all in. I truthfully enjoy it because I meet with other podcasters beyond just regular social media. And it's our own little club, so I can speak to people and I message people all the time and I talk to people and I get new information. And then I love to post about different award ceremonies I'm not aware of. So I'm learning a lot about what's out there from our perspective, from other people that are willing to be a part of a membership. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I feel like I get good knowledge, good education, good information. And that's what I like about it. And things that I haven't been. And another thing too, I utilize it because I don't always have the time to research all the time on my own. So now somebody else does a little bit of research and they put it there for me. I'm like, oh man, I didn't even know about that. Look more into that. So that's what I really dig about it. It's just all that information in in one place, and great conversations. And once again, networking. That networking is key in
Absolutely,
business.
absolutely. In this day and age, and you touched on that, like there's a lot of things that we can, based on either our past experiences where something was promised and disappointed or what have you, but and even social media. I'm an older gentleman,
I,
you
I
know,
am myself. It's okay.
so
We're still relevant, buddy.
yeah, oh, super relevant. But
Hey,
you know,
that's
I'm an
right.
analog guy, you know. I know what the rotary phone is on the
Hey,
wall where you just going like this until you get
yeah,
it, right?
yeah. I'm there
So
with you.
yeah, so a lot of the things that are happening now, I'm very resistant to, but this is where we are. This is the world we're in. And I always also think technology and all the skill sets, even what you have, what a time to be alive, man.
Yeah,
Things at our disposal, and it's just growing. It's just expanding,
yeah.
making our life easier. We have this opportunity, really. It's 2023. We're free people. We do whatever the hell we want.
That's right.
Yeah. So it's a great time, man. And podcasting being that ever evolving industry. And it sounds like you have a good handle on that idea and that concept that we are in an industry that is changing minute by minute, evolving so much. And what does that feel like for you?
I love it. I love the change. When I first started podcasting, was only everybody was audio,
Mhm.
and I started doing video, and because I was recording it with a camera, and I was dropping the video portions only on YouTube at one point, and I was like, why am I only putting that here? I started putting it everywhere, video and audio. Then I saw my numbers triple with video. Then making certain scenes do things and networking more with musicians. I've always evolved with it, and with me changing, it's been just successful for me. So I love the change, and I always want to be ahead of it. I actually try to jump ahead of what the change may be, and that's what I love about back to the Black Podcast Association. When people drop little gems, you know, what the next location or the next wave, or somebody put up one day IMDb, you know, how to put it, and had no idea about that. I said, oh, let me look into that. Now I'm doing the same thing. I'm all for the change. I think that's fantastic. That's the world we're in, and we have to be abreast to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with that, man. Any podcasts that you listen to or any YouTube channels that you're really into that you want to?
I do, when I read your question, I'm like, man, what do I listen to? But yeah, with my networking, I help manage a very successful, I guess you would say he's a podcaster, content creator. I help him with some items here and there. The real LFR family, want to shout him out. He's amazing. Van Hall, he blows my mind with what he's done and what he's accomplished and how he's just built a community, something that he teaches me all the time, like Santi build that community. Shout out to him. A podcast that got me interested, or who I say I learned from, the Drink Champs, Noriega, when he was doing that. I thought that was a really good show. If he's still doing, I don't know. I don't know after everything that happened, scandal, but I really enjoyed that show.
Yeah,
he's still there. Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's great. He's a good show. And he's also one of an artists that I really, liked when I was younger. To see him doing that, I think it's fantastic. My goal is to be at that level. My goal is to be at their level and do exactly what they're doing. And I do that by really focusing on my local market. So I like his show. And other than that one, there was Drink Champs. And I used to like the Breakfast Club with Charlamagne the God when he was on there. I thought that was a really good show. Our show somewhat mimics somewhat of what they do with a little bit of twist to it. But those are the shows that I did look at and say, okay, I want to mimic those to a certain degree.
Yeah, no, that's important. There's a great book out called, it's been years, but it's called Still Like an Artist. And the word still throws people off, but it really is that nothing's new under the sun, right? And it gets to be an intentional process to see what works and work towards that same level. Nothing wrong with that,
Mm-hmm.
At all. So that's dope. Anything else you want to share with folks that, you haven't said yet?
Man, I want to tell everybody, please tune in to All Gas No Breaks podcast. We are on Instagram at AGNB podcast. If you type in at symbol A Alpha G George and Nancy B Bravo podcast on Google search, on YouTube, you'll find us. We're primarily frequent on Instagram. We're staying there a lot because we're allowed to be a little bit more mature there with our posting. But please tune in to our show, All Gas No Breaks podcast. The Breaks is BREAKS. Apple Podcast, Spotify. We're on everything. We're on everything. We're everywhere. Yeah, just please keep tuning in and let me know what you guys like, what you don't like. And I truthfully subscribe, and I enjoy every listen, every fan.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you being a part of this series. I don't take it for granted. So thank you for signing up and being a part of this.
I'm happy to be a part of it, man. Thank you for putting that out there. What you guys are doing over there, Black Podcast Association, your conference, I know it's history. I can feel it. And I
Yeah.
don't know, for some reason, I feel like I just got to be it. Something's in my head telling me I got to be a part of it. So I'm all in, man.
All right, man. I appreciate it. I'm going to take us out of here and you just stay right there for me. All right. So I want to give a big thanks to Santiago for being here today. And thank you to the Afros in Audio and Black Podcast community for supporting our commitment for community and collaboration. If you'd like to join the Black Podcast Association, the link will be in the description below, as well as all of Santiago's links and ways to get in touch with him. And if you want to join us at the 5th Annual Afros in Audio Podcast Festival, visit bit.ly/AFAUFAQ. Also, it'll be in the description, and follow us on all social media channels at Afros in Audio. Thanks again, Santiago, for being part of this first ever Afros in Audio Black History Month interview series. I appreciate it, man.
Awesome. My pleasure. The first one, I'm happy to be here.
Word up. All right, man.
All right.
Thank you.
Peace.